Okay, I hate to start off another video with a comparison, but seriously guys, this just writes itself. Anyways, I gotta ask, does anyone remember a game called Cube World? It was essentially an indie developed RPG that was revealed in 2013. It had a voxel-based world that you could explore that procedurally generated. Turns out, unfortunately though, Cube World was subject to a tragic story, going from a promising game tons of people wanted to a game that would be delayed until release in 2019, 6 years later, only for it to massively disappoint everyone.
Wait a minute. This isn't my world. Disappointed!
Ironically though, a game that would essentially capture most of what Cube World was going for was released in 2015. That game is the subject of today's video, Trove. Trove, like Cube World, is also a voxel-based sandbox game with procedurally generated content. The big difference though, that Trove is a MMO. Cube World technically also promised MMO-like features, but obviously missed the mark, so when Trove hit the scene, it was what some fans of Cube World were waiting for. Trove had the voxel-based graphics, adventure-like gameplay, multiple biomes to discover, various classes to play as, multiple forms of progression through its mastery system, tons of customization options, mounts, professions, etc. The game has had a lot to discover, and through its relatively short 5-year lifespan, the game has garnered a decent following. I played it a good bit with my buddy Taylor a couple years ago back on the Xbox One, and it was something really fun. Unfortunately, coming back to it within the recent week, I find that the game is not crossplay, which ultimately sucked. Either way, I sucked it up and started over, playing through the early game and remembering what made it so fun. But obviously, that is just my take on it. As most of you are wondering when you watch these videos, is Trove worth checking out? Well, guys and gals, let's talk about Trove. Trove is a voxel sandbox online game. The term voxel is a description that can be used to describe the game's 3D block graphics. Trove's story, if you can really even call it a story, is summarized as essentially two goddesses ruled over the world. The sun goddess fills the world with light, and everyone loves that. The moon goddess, however, gets jealous of the sun goddess and ends up creating a fight between the two, with the moon goddess's pale moonlight being the reason that monsters exist in the realms. Trove is more or less a game that you play more for the gameplay anyways, rather than the story.
You're a poopy head. When we spell it out, you're a poopy head.
Upon creating an account with Trion Worlds in Gamigo, or logging in with your PS4 or Xbox, you are greeted with a choice between a few starting classes in the tutorial. And as you might have noticed, there is no character creator. Instead, you just choose your class, which will have a preset look. Trove actually supports a decent number of classes to choose from. You get to choose one class to start with in the beginning from a restricted choice pool, but overall there is the Knight, Gunslinger, Fey Trickster, Dracolite, Neon Ninja, Candy Barbarian, Ice Sage, Shadow Hunter, Pirate Captain, Boomeranger, Tomb Raiser, Lunar Lancer, Revenant, Chloromancer, Dino Tamer, and Vanguardian. Past your first starting class, as well as another free class you get, the rest you have to unlock via playing the game or the game's cash shop. Anyways, once you play the tutorial, unlock your free classes, and complete your starting quests, you are introduced to a number of different things you can do in the game, and you'll quickly realize Trove is not your standard MMO game, which is why I didn't go into much detail with each class, since more or less roles like tank, healer, or DPS don't really play a significant part of the game to an extent. No, instead Trove employs a more open-ended approach to its gameplay, hence its sandbox nature. Gameplay consists of various activities you can do that will level up your total mastery. Activities such as leveling up your class, collecting hat styles, face styles, mounts, pets, fishing, crafting, etc. If we take Trove as a standard MMORPG, then in a traditional sense, you fight monsters, go on quests, and level up your chosen class to a max of 30. Adventuring in the different realms will have you steadily increasing your overall power rank from your class level as well as gear and gems you equip. Gear is simplified in this game, only having weapon, hat, face, and ring as your standard equipment slots. Pets also count towards power rank, but aren't typically collected through adventuring in the different realms. As mentioned before, you also have gems that you equip. Gems work a little like standard Korean MMORPGs, in which you socket them to your character and level them up. Each gem has colors, rarities, different resources you have to use to level them up, varied randomized stats, and other RNG-based parameters. All of the power you accumulate through all of this goes towards being able to become more powerful, obviously, but also participate in the game's more relevant high-end content. Things like bosses and dungeons will require higher power to be able to successfully beat them. Delves were the latest dungeons introduced recently, which are randomly generated dungeons that you can explore endlessly until you lose, which is a fun concept compared to other dungeons in games that have a set environment and difficulties. In addition to the standard adventuring RPG mechanics of the game, you also have player-owned estates that you can plop whenever a space is open, and it's fully customizable with blocks and decorations you earn in-game. The player-owned estates is basically going to cater to the person who loves games like Minecraft, since it's essentially the same sort of idea, having everything in blocks with various decorations and block colors you can create to have some really elaborate building structures. Other game modes include the Geode mode. Geode gameplay is radically different than standard Trove, since you explore dungeons and collect resources, but you do them in dungeons in which you can't actually fight and use your standard powers. Instead, you have tools and various skills that help you navigate these dungeons in a very different way. You still gain experience in this mode as well towards your class, so it's still definitely worth playing. PvP also exists in Trove, although it is a bit all over the place in terms of current structure. The most relevant PvP mode currently is the Bomb Royale mode, a PvP match type that has you throwing tons of bombs at other players until there is only one person left standing. The Battle Arena is another form of PvP that has Capture the Flag and Team Deathmatch. Unfortunately, PvP queues for the most part have been removed and relegated to more privatized queues within guilds called clubs in Trove, which once again, as I always say in these reviews, is a dang shame that these games can't seem to give PvP players some much needed love. Crafting is also a major part of Trove's gameplay, since anytime you are playing, you are most likely gathering some sort of resource to help you craft something. Resources in Geode help you improve your Geode equipment. Mining in the Trove realms help you craft blocks for decorating your player-owned estates, as well as for crafting mounts, pets, and other goodies. One of the unfortunate sides of gameplay, though, you will quickly learn, especially through crafting, is just how grindy this game can be. Just about everything that is worth collecting requires a ton of resources to be able to earn it. For instance, the dragons in the game are probably some of the more sought out mounts and items you can earn. Some of the easier dragons require the player to craft souls to be able to obtain them. You have to craft each soul 100 times, and each soul can require some hefty resources. Now, to be fair, there are some milestone rewards you earn depending on how many souls you have acquired within that dragon type, but seriously, some of the other dragons require even more resources or more rare items to get them. Referencing back to the mastery level system, where everything you are doing and collecting in the game goes towards a total mastery level, a grind like this can seem absolutely insane to any average player. The idea behind the system, however, is that with so many things to collect and earn, players are constantly working towards something, which is definitely something I can support, especially considering the max mastery level is technically infinite, since it increases with each addition to the game. The game's cash shop is rather tame, thankfully, compared to other free-to-play MMOs out there. There are some exceptions, though, that can definitely be considered pay to win. So Trove's cash shop has two forms of currency: credits and qubits. Credits are the currency you pay for, which are the rainbow-looking coins. They can also be purchased with in-game currency you can earn called flux, so there is a system in place that allows players to earn premium currency, thankfully. Qubits are earned by leveling up your mastery, as well as from other means like daily login rewards or event items but can only be spent on very few items in the cash shop. Thankfully, those items are very useful, which makes qubits useful still. Most items that you will find that are of significance will be cosmetic items, things like class costumes, mounts, styles, and pets. Other items are more among the time-saving type, things like unlocking classes faster without grinding, resources that are used for crafting, XP boosters, level boosters, etc. The pay-to-win items fall under the items that can help boost your character, things like gem boosters and boxes. The gems seem to have the most pay-to-win aspect to them since they are so RNG based. Items that allow you to reroll stats, remove gems without breaking them, level them up faster, improve chances at faster boosting. There is a lot to the gems in the game, but since so much of it is RNG, it unfortunately has a lot that can be monetized. Other items like loot boxes also exist that can be purchased, but realistically all you are getting most of the time is just cosmetics. So in my opinion, it's better to just earn any styles, mounts, or pets that you may get from them. There is also a subscription service called Trove Patron Status that gives some additional perks. Things like faster mining, faster resource gathering, more XP, slightly enhanced stats, all at a reasonable price in my opinion. Of course, there are various increments that you can choose from: 15 days, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and a year. You can even pay for the patron status with credits, so technically you could even earn patron status by just playing the game. Overall, Trove has a lot to offer for everyone except with maybe its graphics and potentially its music, which in my opinion was overall sort of forgettable. But it has a good gameplay hook in its PvE exploration. It has a pretty vast crafting system, a pretty fun PvP mode with its bomb royale, variety in class choice, various modes to experience, and much more. It seems like the game tries to cater to a little bit of everything, for better or for worse. Anyways, let's get to my overall thoughts on Trove. Trove is a game that just about anyone can get into. If you are looking for something to play with your family, or just generally looking for something more on the E for everyone side, Trove is a good game to jump into. There are a lot of classes to experience in Trove, with a total of 16 at the time of this video, with each one playing different enough to give a different spin on gameplay. If you like creating things in games, then Trove offers various avenues for creativity. Obviously, their player-owned housing system allows you to customize and decorate your house, but the developers also host various contests or events in which they take player-made art or even content and host them on the game, even rewarding those for doing so with in-game items. Developer interaction like that is very commendable, and I would have to say, if you are an artist in some shape or form, or just genuinely like decorating things, you will like this game. Stepping off the previous point where players can make content, the game updates fairly often with new things to do or collect, since the developers and players are creating content fairly often. Ideally, the game can be supported indefinitely, since as long as the community supports creation, the game will always have new things to look forward to. Trove has a very robust amount of items to collect within its catalogs. Styles, mounts, pets are just some of the things to collect, so if you are a completionist like I am, this game will keep you occupied for quite a long time. Lastly, the game is very accessible, being available on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Even on PC, the requirements are very low to run this game, so if you were worried about high requirements, I can safely say it does not require a beastly machine to get it running. On the flip side of it being on console and PC, nothing is crossplay unfortunately, which is a huge shame considering this game would really benefit from it. Maybe sometime in the future crossplay will be possible, but currently it is not. As you might have seen from my previous points in the video, the game is a massive grind fest, having a high mastery level cap, crafting requiring tons of resources, and genuinely a lot of things just taking a long time to do. I do understand that the game is made that way so that you can always have something to strive for. It is something worth mentioning for those who want a more streamlined experience. For those that want a more serious game, Trove will not be your cup of tea. Since the game is striving for a more friendly approach, don't expect a serious storyline or setting here. Lastly, while the game definitely has a lot to offer, it doesn't necessarily do anything amazing. There isn't any epic raids, vast storylines, massive landscapes, or beautiful scenery here. Instead, everything is very simplified so that a more casual audience can dive in while still spending a lot of time on it. This is both a negative and a positive in a sense, but personally, I do miss having a more epic overall feel in some of the content I am experiencing. And those are my overall thoughts on Trove. Thanks everyone for watching. Do you currently play Trove, or have you been curious about the game? Let me know down in the comments section below. I read all my comments and respond to them as well, so don't be afraid great to leave a comment. If you like this sort of content and want to support the channel, then can I interest you in clicking that like button for me as well as giving me a sub? I'd really appreciate either one, and it helps the video in terms of the YouTube algorithm. I also have my social media links in the description down below, so if you want to join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, or follow my Twitch to catch some live streams, then those links will be there. Lastly, I gotta give a shout out to my loyal supporters who have watched my videos since day one. Anyways, that is all for this video, and I will see you guys next time.